What is up, guys? Welcome here to the Daily Quest number 17. Today we're talking about Jaina, but man, it's been a little while since we've actually done one of these because, well, it's been a bit of a hectic week, a lot of stuff going on with other events, and bit of an announcement I'm going to make right here, right now. There's this little thing, it's called Heroes of the Dorm, and it's happening over the next several weeks, about 3 more weeks where it's happening. 64-man bracket has just been seeded, and all the teams have qualified from the qualification stage. There's been some bumps in the road for that whole qualification stage, but that's another story. But yeah, I'm going to be heading out to LA tomorrow morning to actually help produce the event. I'll be there for a couple of weeks, so Daily Quest going to be a bit on the lull. But today we're going to do one, maybe even two Daily Quests. We're going to sit down, talk about Mrs. Jaina Proudmoore in this one. This is episode number 17, and just jumping right in, let us talk about Jaina. Now, Jaina, she's the only true mage in the game. She's got a massive damage output, and in the most recent patch, well, Jaina has seen some significant improvements. They now made it so that her trait applies to structures and things like the Grave Golem, and they buffed her damage pretty much across the board. So in competitive and just on the ladder in general, we're starting to see a ton of Jaina play, and as a result, we've been requested to do an episode focused around her. So let's just hop on in and take a look at Jaina herself. And, well, what does Jaina have? She has a pretty cool kit. She's a Frost Mage, and pretty much what do you expect out of a Frost Mage? Well, a lot of abilities that do slow and a sizable amount of damage. Just she provides a lot of control on the battlefield, but also a severe amount of damage, possibly more burst than any other hero in the game, to be honest with you. But looking at her trait, that's Frostbite, that chills the targets whenever you cast a spell, slowing them and causing them to take more damage. Basically, when you hit an enemy with one of your spells, it will apply this, and this makes it so that all your future spells, while they're chilled, do additional damage. So this makes Jaina a very combo-heavy character. If you hit that first Frostbolt, that's going to slow them down, apply this debuff to them that makes it so that all your additional spells at that point deal additional damage. And that works either way. There's no specific order as to which spell has to come first, but there's quite a few that will work out. Now, Frostbolt, that is a single target skill shot, and then you have Blizzard, which is an AoE with 2 waves of ice that rain down and do a ton of damage. This is 15 seconds cooldown, so this is actually her longest cooldown. On Blizzard, we have only 4 seconds on the Frostbolt, so you can use this quite often. You have the Blizzard, which is 15 seconds, pretty long, and the third ability, that's Cone of Cold. This is melee, or melee kind of. You shoot it in front of you. It's not long range, and it just deals damage in a cone in front of you. Thus, Cone of Cold, and of course that also applies the chill. Now, it's rather crucial that you use all your abilities in quick succession, especially in a team fight, because you want to make sure you have that damage buff from your trait applied. You want to make sure that you get the additional damage done. And of course, it doesn't necessarily matter in which order you use it, but obviously if you can use Cone of Cold and hit a few targets in front of you and then follow up with the Blizzard and have both waves of the Blizzard hit all of those targets, that's kind of an ideal situation. Looking at her heroics, we have the Summon Water Elemental. This is the common one we see in competitive play. You can control this Water Elemental, and all of its damage applies that slow. So all of its auto attacks apply that trait, that slowing effect, and gives you the additional damage from all your other abilities. And there's a lot of cool synergy. Even at level 20, it will mimic your spells. So it's a really fun heroic and has a lot of damage potential. And especially if we're talking about burst, you can summon it on the enemy target and have it appear pretty much where they're standing, and that does a decent amount of damage as you summon it, and then you can just completely unload your entire kit and pretty much blow up that target. The other heroic is Ring of Frost. Not something we see a whole lot of. After a short delay, you create a Ring of Frost at a target location, deals 200 damage in the ring. So it's kind of like a donut, and then there's a donut hole that doesn't actually hit anything. So it's rather cool. And somebody in the chat is saying, is this real Jake or is this robot Jake? This is actually a live broadcast, guys. This is not pre-recorded. I'm telling you right now. I am recording this here as I don't leave until tomorrow. I thought about pre-recording a bunch. I just didn't have time to do it. But moving on, we are going to get some tunes on. Ooh, the in-game sound. And we're going to switch over to that lovely talent page provided by HeroSpire today. We're using their site. And we're going to talk about some good old Jaina talents and kind of what we see in terms of builds and just styles out of Jaina in general. Level 1, actually, let me just preface this before we even get into talking about Jaina. Jaina has a phenomenal kit. Like, honestly, everything we have here in the kit, obviously you can't read all the descriptions, it's just a bunch of logos, but pretty much everything that Jaina has is great. There's a bunch of different ways to build her, and a lot of the talents end up being very situational. So we're going to go into a lot of depth discussing like when you would grab what and why. And there are things that are kind of hard counters to Jaina, if you will, things that give her a problem, but as it stands in the current meta, I mean, Jaina, you have to be a bit safe. She's rather squishy and she's rather immobile, but her damage kit and just the slow that she applies to all of her abilities creates a lot of really cool synergies that makes other heroes that aren't normally all that viable a little bit more warranted for their, for certain matchups. So let's just get talking in about these talents. And all right, so level 1. Winter's Reach increased the range on Frostbolt. This isn't something we see a lot of. If there's ever a point in the meta where poking becomes a little bit more prevalent, this could be probably seen a little bit. As it stands, it's not something we see very often at all. What we normally would see is Lingering Chill. This would be increasing the duration of the chill, or even more likely Deep Chill. It increases the slowed percent from 25 to 35%. So all of your abilities apply a 35% slow, which is rather good, honestly. It's a pretty significant slow having that. So it's either or, I guess. It's really preference, but I would say more often than less the Deep Chill is what we see taken, because it does have a greater impact, because well, that's a huge amount of slowing. That's 4 seconds that's applied to the target. Controller's Pursuit has been seen. We've seen players opt for this in certain situations in the past. Not so much anymore. If you're going for mana, that's when you're going to look at Arcane Intellect level 4. If you're really desperate to have that mana retention, Arcane Intellect is just so much more beneficial than Conjurer's Pursuit can ever be. But let's just go through the line. We have Frost Shards. Frostbolt will now pierce the first target and hit an additional target. This is much like the pierce that you can get on the Q for Muradin. It's a really strong talent. It definitely is. And this, I mean, especially if there's like a lot of body blocking, and if you just kind of want to be chipping away at people, it's quite good. But when it boils down to it, typically what we will end up seeing at level 4 is either Arcane Intellect or Envenom. Now, Envenom, I guess we should skip Snowstorm, that it just increases the radius of Blizzard. Blizzard is great, but that's a 15-second cooldown, and it's not going to get the greatest amount of impact as a result. But Arcane Intellect, this makes it so that Jaina, as long as you're hitting a lot of targets with your spells, I mean, dealing damage to a chilled target returns mana to Jaina. Basic attacks return 5 mana, and abilities return 25. So just reading through that, every time if you just cleaning up a wave, or if there's a massive wave of enemies, you're going to cast all your spells, and you're going to get back a ton of mana. And this is really beneficial to Jaina in general, just because it makes her continue casting all those spells. In Venom, though, that's probably the most common pickup, because Jaina is phenomenal at just blowing up targets, and this is just another spell that deals additional damage, and it just allows you to have that much more burst. So I personally, for your average game, go for one of these spells based on how you're feeling. If you think you can blow up the target, grab Envenom. But if you think you want to keep that mana retention, that's what you value more, Arcane Intellect, and I probably more often than less would grab it myself. So I guess we'll start building a build here. Going to level 7, there's Ice Flows that doubles the width of Cone of Cold. Cool, but we're talking a 10-second cooldown, and I mean, if you look at the other options at this level, we have Frostbite, and this increases the damage bonus of Frostbite from 50% to 65%. That's the trait. That's the trait we're looking at. So all that bonus damage from all your spells is now 65%. Frost Armor, this is something that is a reactionary pick that we will see Jainas get pretty uncommonly, but if the enemy team is sniping with they go for something like Chen or a Nova, or a target that just has, like, especially if it's like a damage dealing Chen, they're pretty uncommon in the current build of Chen, or a bursty Nova. This becomes difficult for Jaina to actually be able to survive around them. They're really a kind of hard counter, and this is when you would consider something like Frost Armor, and that's when enemy heroes attack you. They are chilled. Additionally, every 8 seconds you can block. So it's kind of like a glorified block with a lot of chill that it's provided. So it's interesting, but it's definitely an uncommon pick. And then we have, of course, Ice Lance, and that it reduces the cooldown of your Frostbolt by 2 seconds if you impact on a chilled target. So in theory, if you did go a Frostbolt build, this is a must get. I mean, Frostbolt builds can work. They're just not common in the current meta. They definitely have their place, and I guess their place is just if you, especially quick match, they're much more viable on quick match because you're going to be like less focused down, I suppose. And but if you go for the additional range and the pierce, and then you get this every 2 seconds, you're just wailing frostbolts on your enemy, and you happen to pick up Arcane Intellect to just kind of maintain that mana. It's a really fun build. You're just throwing your Q out constantly and just dishing out tons of damage, but it doesn't have that same kind of burst factor that you can get from a more well-rounded build that's going to do like a massive amount of damage to the enemy team. And for that kind of build, you're going to grab something like Frostbitten. That's a 65% bonus on your Frostbite. So that's just impacts all of your abilities. It's a little bit more well-rounded, I feel, and it's definitely what we see most common here in the competitive scene. Now at 10, we can talk about Ring of Frost. This is definitely a little bit of zoning. It's a little bit of control over the battlefield, and if you can wombo with something like Maw, you can wombo with another ability, yes, it can have a massive impact because it's damage and it's 3 seconds of rooting AoE. But to actually hit that ring in the perfect way that you want, you need kind of a setup, because it's rather easy to dodge this spell. Even if you have that additional slow applied on your enemies, very frequently they're able to get out of that ring because it doesn't hit in the center, it only hits in that donut shape, thus the Ring of Frost. But more commonly we see the Water Elemental, because we talk about just her for raw damage output and just blowing up the targets, and this adds that. As you summon it on an enemy hero, like I said, the summon does damage, and it does a sizable amount of damage, and then all of its attacks slow, so you're getting the bonus damage, that's 65% when you have Frostbitten damage from the Water Elemental being on that target. It's good for chasing, slowing people down, locking people down, and you can micro it individually and chase 2 targets at once, and it's just a really, really fun, strong ability. So definitely going to say pick the Frost Elemental or the Water Elemental here at level 10 for your heroic. Now going to 13, we talked about Blizzard being pretty uncommon, and that's largely because it just doesn't get that max efficiency, because we're talking your longest cooldown here. You can give it additional range, it's cool, it's fun, and then you can get a third wave at the next level. It's cool, it's fun, but you still don't have that. You're spending talents on something that is just, it's safety, but it's not necessarily value, I guess is probably the best way to put it. Running through the other abilities, improved ice block. This is the other alternative option if they have something like a Nova. If you're really just desperately scared of the enemy team and you're getting blown up and you're just having trouble staying alive the whole game, you find that the enemy team is ruining your day. This is a great option to pick up because it makes you invulnerable. I mean, it's ice block, and I guess the difference is it actually provides chill. Now, ice block on Malfurion or another hero that does have it available, they don't have improved ice block, so it doesn't actually provide that chill. It's just a normal invulnerability for a few seconds. It's a cool option. Icy Veins, this is probably a must get if you're doing something like the Frostbolt build, because Icy Veins, you activate, this is like puts you in like overdrive, right? This makes Jaina absolutely terrifying, and your cooldowns recharge 3 times as fast. So if you're talking a 2-second cooldown that recharges 3 times as fast, and you reduce the mana cost for all those spells by 50% for 5 seconds, if you're able to just stand there uncontested, you can just wail out Frostbolts for days, and it's actually ridiculous. In your entire kit, it gets a triple cooldown reduction, so this makes Jaina a burst machine. But we talked about Jaina having a lack of mobility. We talked about Jaina being rather vulnerable. This is why I myself and many other Jaina players will opt to go with something like Sprint instead. Sprint, of course, a generic talent. It's definitely a damage loss if you're not picking up Icy Veins, but this is giving Jaina that mobility, giving her that safety net that is oh so crucial. And unless you're on a communications with like 4 other players and you guys are a top coordinated team, picking up Icy Veins is kind of a risk, because, I mean, let's face it, if you're just solo queuing, you're going to be caught in bad places. You're not going to get that kind of peel that you want, and having Sprint is going to be a crucial part of just staying alive and being in that fight, living to see a few more seconds in that battle to maybe edge out that fight and win. And it just ends up having more of an impact than Icy Veins does for the average game. Looking at 16, we have Snow Crash. That's the third charge of Blizzard. We mentioned that, and we have Northern Exposure. Enemies damaged by Cone of Cold are vulnerable. This definitely is really cool. I mean, that's 25% additional damage they take. It's definitely really cool if you're going for this mega burst style, because you just Cone of Cold and then you just start hitting Q for days and you just eliminate that target. But Numbing Blast, I mean, we're talking about Jaina's ability to control the battlefield. That's a 1-second AoE root, so it's kind of like an Earthgrass totem that you would get on Chen, but it's in your face, and it just does damage to you, and it locks you down for a second. This is massive. I mean, just give Jaina so much more of a buffer to keep people away, so much more control on her space. And that's something she needs. You lock that target down, and you just wail a full combo on them, and they're in such a bad place. They are hating every minute of that, and Numbing Blast would be the option we go for. But Ice Barrier, that's when Jaina does damage. She gets shielding. This is something that the numbers just don't really seem to add up. If it lasted maybe a little bit longer, it might be better, but I've never seen good use of this. It sounded so cool. We were so excited for this talent. We played with it a bunch at BlizzCon. We played with it a ton as soon as Jaina came out, but it just doesn't ever end up having that impact because I just, the safety net you get from that 1-second root is always going to be more beneficial. Not always, but very often going to be more beneficial than the shielding that you get provided from all the damage that you can dish out. So we're going to say go with the Numbing Blast here at 16. And when it gets to 20, this is when things get a bit tricky, right? Cold Snap, if you did pick up Ring of Frost, go ahead and try it. Wintermute. If you're feeling confident in your Water Elemental Micro, you're having a good job staying alive, man, Wintermute is super fun because this makes it so that all of your abilities will cast or from your Water Elemental, and it's super fun. You can chase and shoot that Frostbolt out from your Water Elemental even though Jaina's nowhere nearby, and it's just super fun to pick up those kills. And it's great, and it's a good option. Definitely don't disregard it. But Arcane Power, that's the new talent. This is something that we haven't really seen a lot of. Now, that's 15% spell damage and restore 400 mana over 5 seconds. So you activate this, and you just become this disgusting machine of damage output, especially if you went for that burst build. So you go for a burst build with Frostbolt and Cold Snap and all that good stuff. Yeah, you're grabbing Arcane Power. You don't have a choice because this is phenomenal. But honestly, more often than less, you're going to end up picking Bolt. And I know that's boring because Bolt is a generic talent, and everyone gets Bolt at 20 because it's a phenomenal talent that you can pick up, and it just provides so much utility for chasing, running away, you name it. And yeah, you're grabbing Sprint and Bolt because Jaina needs that mobility. She's very squishy. She needs that safety net to stay alive. So that's generally speaking what we're going to look for in these games for Jaina. Now, like I said, she has a phenomenal kit. Almost every single talent she has its place in the game, and a lot of it's reactionary. So we're going to look at a couple of replays, as we always do. Today will definitely be competitive replays from the ESL Major League. And we're just going to kind of like look at the Jaina play and talk about why they're doing the specific talents they are, and Jaina's positioning as a whole, because her positioning is a rather crucial thing in these games. Did I update the scene? Oh, yes. Jaina, rundown. Look at all that. My dad subscribed to me. Guys, shout outs to my dad for subscribing to me. That's actually massive. My family doesn't really know what I do with all my time sitting here playing video games and producing content, but they support me. So shout outs to them. So I'm just finding that Jaina... finding some Jaina replays, and we'll go with this one here. I had 2 marked out for today's broadcast, so we're going to load up this game on Cursed Hollow. This is Temple Storm with Arthalon playing as Jaina. I forget who their opponent was already because I'm a terrible person, but we're going to hop into that game. Now, we'll fast forward. We'll talk about positioning. We'll talk about the early game. Jaina has phenomenal lane clear, and that's some pretty obvious stuff, but let's just take a quick look at the composition. So let's see if I remember how to do this. Oh, please. Please? Yeah, we did it. Oop, that's P. Yes. Gets the tunes up higher. Good. Everything is good, grand, and great, and we can take a look at the compositions here. So, already there's something that you should notice. We see Malfurion, Jaina, Nazeebo, ETC, and Vala. And I'm going to pause here. Ooh, the music fades so gently. I love it. What do you guys see? Is there anything that stands out about this composition? ETC, Vala, Nazeebo, Jaina, and Malfurion. No? Nothing? Let me confirm. If you haven't gotten it yet, they have a lot of control over the battlefield. Jaina has all of that slow. We can talk about up to 35% slow for 4 seconds. Malfurion has the roots. Nazeebo has Zombie Wall. ETC can knock people back into all of these things by dashing forward and using his knockback. And then Soldier has the potential to pick up Frost Shot at level 16. So all of these heroes have some kind of control on the battlefield. But let us look to the other side before we get too excited. We have Dunk Train playing Tyrande, stun. We have Biceps playing Uther, double stun, unless he goes Divine Shield, which has become quite popular. And then we have ETC. This is a pick composition because this is the hook into Lunar Flare with Hunter's Mark. Uther can follow up with the stun, and then you just blow them up. And then you have K1 Pro and iDream. iDream on Cursed Hollow. When he's playing those Lost Vikings, he's across the map soaking them. And then Falstad just has all that damage output. I hit the wrong key, rewinding 10 seconds. We're going to get this game loaded up, and we can pull up that talent screen. Just going to hit that fast forward a couple times to just kind of speed it up. Everyone's going to go, little bunny mode zipping around the map. And we can see level 1, that's the Deep Chill. So that's kind of what we talked about being a very likely pickup here in competitive Heroes of the Storm. 35% additional, or just it's 10% additional slowing, but 35% slow every time you hit someone with a target. And that just allows you to line up all your other spells. It keeps them locked down into the Blizzard, all of that good stuff. And, at this point in time, Arthlon's just going to kind of farm up. Let's get our sound effects on. Oh my goodness. Alright, so we're going to slow this down, and yes, there's the hook style that we talked about. Stitches is going to wander around with Dunk Train quite a bit looking for hooks, and as a Jaina player, that is actually just terrifying, because if you get hooked, you're going to die. So I like this pickup here by Dreadnought, going for that scouting drone. He's going to use that scouting drone to just provide as much vision as possible to keep them alive. And again, we're just going to kind of fast forward through the first half of this game, kind of get to where the story begins. But you can see Jaina's wave clear. She just blows through those minions very quickly, and they just need to constantly be wary of this rotation here. Now you see Dread, he's throwing those Moonfires out, looking for the target. Nicely dodged there, just making sure they dodge that hook. Now the hook is 16 seconds of cooldown. It's a pretty long cooldown, so you're safe for a little while, but really their only goal is to soak. They want to just make sure they stay safe here in the back line. They know this rotation is a threat constantly, and they just want to soak the best they can. But Arthlon, he opted for the Envenom, so he's going for that just general, like, I'm going to deal a lot of damage to everything, and he's also going to be having that Envenom, especially for the early game, to try to blow up those targets. We can see very early there was a ping here on these Giants. Typically we see teams trying to grab Giants before the first curse does spawn, but neither team will be doing that in this game. First curse spawning, we do have this ward here, once again, just providing some vision with a scouting drone, and honestly, Temple Storm's in a peculiar spot. Now, the hook going out like that actually signals them a bit of room to go forward with a bit of aggression, and there's that first bit of control we talked about, the zombie wall. ETC going in the front line, going to bully them back, and this all was to buy time for the hook, or for the capture of the tribute, because they threw out the roots. They had the zoning of Jaina, and then ETC just showing himself forces them all back, because if they get locked down by a root, because the root's still available for Malfurion, and then we have Arthlon just blowing them up with the skill set of Jaina, it's too much of a threat to have to risk. So really nicely done by the team here, the blue team, picking up that first tribute of the game. But something they have to be, often consider is the fact that these Lost Vikings are going to continue to soak. And later in the game, Jaina's going to excel so much at blowing up those Vikings. I mean, really, she's got such a powerful skill set for doing that. And the Vikings have such a small health pool, and especially when you consider two of her abilities are area of effect, and Vikings, well, there's an array of them, it can really add up. But look at this. I mean, iDream just uses Olaf to dismount Arthlon, forcing him back. And Arthlon, I mean, our Jaina player is so far back at this point in time. ETC died during all of this, and I'm even surprised that the blue team Temple Storm is even trying to continue to contest this, because they don't have their tank. He's got to walk back from base. He had just fallen. And yeah, it looks like the hook's going to go out onto Soldier, who can just vault away. Dodging Lunar Flare, nicely done. So they're staying alive. But really, all of that did is it put them ahead in level, because we had the Lost Vikings soaking mid. Lost Vikings are soaking bottom. And they were able to, just kind of get ahead in experience. And Arthlon is just kind of scouting around. He's making sure they're not doing anything down here. He's making sure he's safe to do this, and he's going to start working on these knights. And look how quickly Jaina blows up those knights. I mean, the bottom knight and these two middle ones, she's able to just power through them in such ease, really. And the second blizzard, after a few seconds, it's 15 seconds for her to be able to use that, goes down. We're going to finally slow this down. We're starting to approach level 10, so this is when the game starts to get a little bit more serious. This is when things start to get a little bit more intense. So, all right, Dreadnought in the front line's got to be careful. He does a nice job baiting up the hook at the very least, and that's going to be the second tribute going to the side of Cloud9 Maelstrom. They have to be concerned about level 10, and that's pretty much why they didn't even try to contest that. Cloud9 knew that they weren't going to contest that, so they kept their team spread out, and it's really just kind of that race to 10. And they've done a good job just kind of mitigating the situation and trying to catch up. But what we're going to be looking for this Jaina to do is now she's going to start looking for those kills, because if she can start to pick off these Vikings, she can just do it so well. Yes, they have jump, but yeah, she's just throwing that one cone of cold. She's just applying that pressure, and this is both teams hitting 10. And at this point in time, let's just kind of take a look at all of the teams' builds. Like, let's slow it down and see what everyone's got going on here. So, and before we do that, I always forget to do this. Yes, excellent. All right. Very quickly, Nazebo. This is the new Nazebo build we see a lot, specifically on Temple Storm. They pick up Gargantuan, they go for the spider cluster, and then later on they'll pick up jumping spiders. That's because of all the changes to nerfing Gathering Power. They nerfed the Ravenous Spirit. They nerfed the other level 4 talent. I forget what it was called, because I'm terrible. And yeah, so Nazebo's seen a lot of changes. This is a pretty standard new build. Malfurion, it's actually pretty uncommon to see, Conjurer's Pursuit Sacrifice, but he knows that hooks are a big part of their strategy, being a very pick-off composition, so that's why we see Scouting Drone, and that's just a beautiful pickup. Because of the changes to Scouting Drone, it's much more viable. 2 charges, shorter cooldown, shorter duration. Good, great, dandy. Alright, ETC, standard stuff. Nothing weird. And Vala, they did remove battle momentum from her kit, so that's when we start to see something like Searing Attack. Sometimes we'll see Caltrops if there's an Illidan. Standard stuff here. On the opposite side, Tyrande. This is as normal as it gets for a pick composition. We have Uther with also a pretty standard composition. He's picking up Cleanse because of all of the roots and slow and all of that control they have on this team, and that's pretty much needed at that point in time. Sustain style Stitches, it's going to be there's only one Lost Vikings build, honestly, as it stands. And then, of course, with Falstad, he's going to standard stuff. So there's nothing that Jaina really has to look at here that's like geared towards her specifically, except for like this Hinterlands Blast and the blow up that can be provided from that. But so that's really the big thing. Watch for hooks, watch for the Hinterlands Blast. That's really all that's on Jaina's radar. There's no Chen with like a flying kick blow up build. There's no Zeratul or Nova, anything like that she has to be worried about. So that's why we see this very standard I can't talk today, damage build. And yeah, the game's kind of normalizing right now. We can just kind of see both teams making sure to soak their lanes the best they can, and it's just pretty normal stuff. We could actually just fast forward a little bit till the next big engagement, and that's actually going to be Maelstrom trying to take this boss. This is actually rather risky, I'll be honest. I don't actually know how I feel about them trying to do this. And we can see that they're kind of disengaging. Dunk Train has kept it leashed for the moment. And there is a stage dive by Glaurung. Now, this is what they expected. They wanted to bait out the stage dive, but I don't know if it's actually going to pay off for them, because they have been separated pretty hard. This Gargantuan in the front line is dealing a lot of damage, and Tyrande has fallen in the back line. I'm not even sure who blew him up, but we can just see, like, let's just kind of recap that really quickly and talk about positioning in this fight. Arthalon is always in a relatively back position. The second Biceps walks forward, he goes forward and does that. He hits him with a slow. He knows, I mean, that was risky for him, but he knows that he's got the zoning from both the Gargantuan, and they want ETC to go forward with that and the root just to guarantee the kill. During all of that, we did have a kill in the back line onto Tyrande, but Vala fell in the back also. So pretty even, 2 for 1 at this point in time, considering they picked up Uther, but that positioning on that boss that they tried to, just take advantage of was all pretty much foiled by the stage dive of BTC right here in the middle, separating the team, forcing them back, and then we had Vala chasing, who did fall, but picked up that nice kill, and that puts the tributes at 2-2. So really nicely done there, well handled, and just the positioning of Arthalon pretty safe the whole time. Even if she had gotten stunned by Uther in that situation, she was more than safe because there were no damage even near her. So just good awareness of pretty much everyone on the map at that point in time. And oh my goodness, let us slow this down and talk about that really quick, as I missed all of the action. Fast forward, sometimes ruining my life. All right, they're going here on to Mr. Stitches himself, just laying out some damage, and then Dreadnought gets caught off by himself. Lunar Flare actually just a little bit late there. They try to blow up Dread, but then he's going to pop that Tranquility to stay alive, and then they move on in. They separate Biceps, beautifully done by ETC, and just going for it. I mean, Uther Ghost has forgotten how to walk. It's okay. Gustav Uther is gonna live on, and they just want to hook that Gargantuan to blow it up, which is also silly that he's forgotten how to walk. I think it's because when I rewind the client, it actually just makes a lot of units forget how to walk, which is Very silly bug. But the 5th tribute of the game is spawning here, and this is going to force every single member to make their way down. They cannot afford to just randomly give up a curse when the game is this even. Both teams are very close to level 13, and we see them wanting to rotate, but look at this. They're just here to delay. They're just here to buy time for the cap to happen, and that forces Glaurung to use stage dive to get down there. So now they're fighting here in the middle of the map. They're dishing up as much damage as they can, but oh no, KO is just going to get eliminated. Is he going to live? He is going to live. And the strafe in the backline. But there's that hint of Lens Blast. Oh my goodness. It's like a snipe. But Glaurung in the backside was able to cap the tribute. But 2 members have fallen. Vala and Nazebo have fallen. So this is far from an optimal situation. Dred's just going to drop this down. Provide some vision on the boss. If they try to capture the boss, they will know that they're in the area. Okay. A lot of big plays there. They force out a heroic by delaying in the middle of the map. They forced out the heroic of ETC. And Jaina was just kind of caught in a position where she can't run through. If there's like a tank and maybe 2 or 3 other members like just trying to delay your path, you don't know where the rest of the team is, so you can't just go running willy-nilly towards that tribute, and she just kind of had to play very safe there. But moving forward with her tank, she feels perfectly safe right now, and K1 Pro is getting oh so very low, gonna end up falling. Nice pickup there, the heals and the innervate, a full package provided by our Malfurion player, keeping Arthalon, our Jaina player, oh so very happy right now. And the rest of the team has respawned. But during all of this, the curse has done almost nothing. Maelstrom has been able to soak the entire map, giving them a bit of an experience lead. They were able to make sure that they didn't lose any, well, they lost one fort where they lost Falstad, because that's where Tempo Storm had to put their aggression on. And if Tempo does manage to pick up this boss, this will be great for them. But Maelstrom, they're in hot pursuit right now, and it looks like Tempo Storm is going to be able to pick up the boss. That strafe is not going to be able to be interrupted. There are body blocks everywhere, and you can just see the body block from the Water Elemental and ETC locking in just that single Viking. It's kind of a big deal. The fact that your heroic can be a body block, watch this. There's the heroic. ETC is going to dash forward, and they just lock Olaf down. He doesn't even know what to do, and they're just able to eliminate him, and Jaina can just safely just lay out all this damage. And that's kind of the cool thing with this composition, because we have both the Water Elemental and the Gargantuan of Nazebo in the front line, these 2 extra bodies. So it's kind of, when it comes to these fights, it's kind of like, oh my goodness, Dreadnought, good night. It's kind of like a 7v5 because they have those 2 extra bodies, or a 7v7 if you consider this 3 lost Vikings. So cool stuff here by both teams. Vikings are respawning slowly. iDream realizing that he's coming back to life. He had actually lost all 3 at once, and this golem is a bit of a problem. There's no ammunition left in these towers, so that's going to force Maelstrom to react, and this is where we can see Jaina's damage shine on these golems. Now that all of her trait applies to something like this, she can dish out quite a bit, but oh my goodness, that Starfall, they're actually forcing them off. They're going to try to steal this boss, even though they had just lost a massive fight. Maelstrom getting very aggressive, forcing them off, and they're going to be able to pick up this boss. And Arthalon needs to be very careful because a hook can actually pass through this wall. We see Stitches players do that. They'll throw. You can actually see standing right here. He could shoot that hook through these walls and pull someone in just from a blind hook and dish out massive damage. Now they do lose the boss, but they're trying to turn this around. They tapped the wall, they healed up the best they could, and Arth needs to be very careful. She was way out of position in that moment, and there's the Water Elemental being summoned onto Biceps to try to pick up the kill. Really nicely done. You see Arth just once again very far in the back. That hammer and the shock and awe. She has to use the sprint to get out of the range from that safely, and she's going to be able to stay alive. That's why we tend to see sprint be picked up, because there's a lot of things that will be targeted at Jaina because of how low her health pool is. I mean, just comparing health pools, we look at Jaina, and she's sitting at 2390 versus Malfurion, who's got about the same, so she's as squishy as Malf. Of course, Zebo has more, and then you go to ETC, he's 4,400. But Malf can heal himself on a whim. He can pop Ice Block if he has Ice Block, and he does, of course, in this game. He has a lot of options like that. Jaina needs to sprint, and of course, we mentioned improved Ice Block is an option, but more often than less, I guess sprint has a little bit more utility, a little bit more flexibility. You can use it for aggression, you can use it to run away, you can use it to dodge. So there's a lot of things you can do with sprint, which makes it a pretty popular talent here on Jaina. And level 16 has been reached, and that's when we're going to see the Numbing Blast. So Cone of Cold also roots the chill target for 1 second. So you've got to make sure that you actually hit the target and apply the trait first so that it actually roots the target, because it has to be a chill target for this root to actually go off, and that's definitely something you need to be aware of. But it's a very powerful talent, and even though they don't necessarily have a lot of melee on their composition, it just gives her that space. It gives her the flexibility of just guaranteeing to lock down those other spells, and it's going to be very beneficial for the rest of the game. But right now, I mean, our blue team, Tempo Storm, they're a little bit behind. I mean, Maelstrom was able to take that bottom boss. They've managed to take a lot of map control. We can see that there's only this one giant camp available, and there's a good amount of blue and red on both sides, but they're going to eliminate that fort, leaving just one fort left. They managed to pick off Olaf. That's quite nice. But Jaina, she's just going to stick with her team, stay safe, and look for those targets to eliminate the best she can. And they're taking a very safe route because the enemy team has this curse, and they know that this fort is the last objective that's like on their radar that's easily destroyed. So they're just kind of backing up, making sure that they're safe, pushing back these lanes and not getting too greedy. They're just defending the curse because making an aggressive play during a curse on your side is always going to end rather poorly. But ETC there with the stage dive. Future Battle is used as a response, and there's Gargantuan. He doesn't know how to use his lens, but oh my goodness, that Hinterlands blast dishing out a lot, but Glaurung is just barely staying alive from this Tranquility. Massive heals from that Malfurion, and then since the focus is trying to kill Glaurung there, I mean, Arthlon on Jaina was just in the front line, just dishing out those skill shots. She knew it's an opportunity where Hook is on cooldown. She knew it's an opportunity when all they want to do is try to kill that ETC. So that's when she's providing that peel with all of the damage and the slowing from her kit. So just really, really nice stuff. We're just going to fast forward a little bit as the game is just going to get a little bit slow as it turns into just rotating around, picking up merc camps, pushing back the lanes, and Jaina's just kind of riding her money pig around the base, being nice, being happy, but it's not all that much. But we can see Maelstrom, they're pushing in, they're here at these bottom giants. Oh, I hit the wrong key again. Damn. Alright, here they come. Now we know, once again, they're coming up this lane, moving on up. Here we go. And then they're just going to look. They're going to use the Sentinel, and they're going to throw a hook out. They got the eyes on Arthlon, and oh my goodness. We have to watch that again. I remember this now. I saw this match already once, and it's just such a smart thing. We talk about synergy for two heroes. I know this is about Jaina, and this is Jaina getting eliminated, but I have to highlight this because we talk about the synergy of two heroes, where it's like Stitch's Tyrande. We talk about the hook and then the lunar flare, but we don't talk about the owl and then the hook and then the lunar flare, because you can actually use that owl, as you see here, to get vision of the target. So let's switch over. Let's switch over to the red team's vision. So this is what they can see. They can see nothing at all here. And you see it? Reveals. So they reveal Jaina. Now she knows that she's been seen and she's likely in trouble. Well, Mr. Stitch in the front line, he's here. He moves to the front. He predicts her path and he just sends it out. Good night. And she just gets evaporated. So very well played by Cloud9, just a really nice little maneuver by them. We'll switch back to everyone vision. Fast forward to our Jaina's demise. She'll be dead for another 35 seconds. So yes, this is going to be actually just horrible to listen to. So we're going to slow it down by one. And Jaina will be up in just about 5 seconds here. Bam, she's alive. All right, 5v5, but guess what? Maelstrom has a bit of an advantage right now, and Jaina is going to be that target time and time again, so she has to be very careful. Level 20 is around the corner, and that's a big deal for Maelstrom. So this is a situation where Jaina and Vala, their damage dealers in general, are just forced to wait for a big play. They need something like that huge stage dive that separates the team, followed up by a root or hook, but this is really not going to help them out. These kind of hooks, I mean, that's why we saw Scouting Drone get picked up, but it's just not quite enough right now, and picking up that kill is going to allow Maelstrom to consider picking up their boss, but they know Tempo Storm is likely going to go for theirs, so they're actually opting to turn around and come down to Tempo Storm. Now Jaina, she's in the safest place she can be, and they have a feeling that they're being pressured here, so they back up, they rotate around. Jaina just used Blizzard. That's a 15-second cooldown, and they pretty much have to concede this. So this is some fancy footwork right now from both teams, really respecting each other, expecting that they might be coming down to their boss. They give it up. Maelstrom's going to get aggressive Golem, and now we have this tribute spawning in the top half of the map. So that's good, but this is still a really tough situation for Tempo Storm. And are they? Oh my goodness. I don't remember this. Do they rotate up and try to pick someone as they come up here? No, they're just trying to backdoor. They're trying to force the position on the Cloud9, who are going to have to fly Hearth home. We got Falstead here, and they're just going to blow up that keep and just back away. Now, they do have these giants marching down. They are giving up the tribute to iDream's Eric, who was able to pick that up. And I thought I saw a stage dive. Oh. ATC went back to defend the golem. Okay, I was like, where is he? All right, did go back for the golem to defend there. And Jaina getting caught out of guard, out of position. This is going to force that sprint out, but again, that utility invaluable and just saving her life because she was caught just barely out of position, and she could die from that easily. Getting hit with one auto attack, dismounting her, just allowing the slow from Starfall to set up a Lunar Flare, that would be the death of her, like hands down. So just nicely done by the team, rotating back, defending their keep for the time being, but this allowed Cloud9 to go ahead and pick up this top boss because they've pretty much they've had these objectives like pushing around between that initial curse and then just mercenary camps across the map, just kind of forcing the position of Tempo Storm constantly. And this could be a nice... Oh, they do block it. They do block it. No, they don't manage to pick that up. Baylog going to be able to throw the auto attack out to defend that. This is a curse point for Maelstrom. So if they get this, they do get that second curse in a row, and there it is. So this is going to signal quite a bit of aggression. That boss still marching down the top lane, completely healthy, and especially with a curse applied on their team. This is a scenario where Tempo Storm is in a bad spot. They're going to lose their bottom keep here in about 2 seconds. And they are all defending this boss right now, which allows Maelstrom to just kind of go in uncontested into the middle. And this is the point where Tempo Storm has to scramble. They have to just try to make something happen. And Jaina, she used Sprint already. That was Sprint cooldown. So that's everything she has. And Venom and Sprint is on cooldown, and she didn't get anything done. So that's a situation where Jaina's effectiveness and her safety in general is really been nullified quite a bit, and that's why she's just saying, all right, well, I'll go fight the boss, I guess, because there's actually not a whole lot I can do here. So that's actually going to be pretty much game. I don't think Jaina has anything else to contribute here, so we're just going to quit this replay and get ready for another replay here today, boys. While we set it up, let me do my announcement once again, guys. I will be flying out to the ESL studios in LA tomorrow morning to help with ESL. Will help ESL produce the Heroes of the Dorm broadcast for the next couple of weeks. So there will be no daily quests, no streams in general, pretty much for 2 weeks. I'm gonna see if I can stream from the studio for stuff like the tournament broadcasts and Town Hall. But I'll keep you guys up to date on that kind of stuff. But on that note, we're gonna get a second replay ready to observe a different player at the hands on a different map. This is gonna be Quibsy playing Jaina on Dragonshire. Same tournament. It's going to be a pretty good showing. I think it's a little bit of a different scenario. I don't remember I picked these matches out for a reason yesterday, just kind of display different things. And we'll pull this up and take a look at the compositions. And yes, that would explain why I picked this. This is a very different scenario for our Jaina player, because the composition in which she is up against is rather different. Let me just pause this here. Now, in the last game, we talked about the only real thing she had to worry about. I see a lot of sad faces on me announcing that I won't be streaming as much for the next couple weeks. I'm sorry, guys. I'm sorry. All right, so there's a very different composition against our Jaina in this game. Now, Jaina being played by Quibsy, and this time they're up against Tempo Storm. Tempo Storm has an Illidan, they have a Zeratul, and they have a Sonya. So this is a very all-in divey composition. I personally don't think this is the best composition, but this is going to make Jaina's life very interesting. There's a lot of things that can just get onto her and really blow her up quite a bit. So the Ancient Spear of Arthalon going in there with Sonya, that's a stun, and then it just follows by tons of damage. Soldier is hard to shake off in general as Jaina, and then Zeratul can just blink in, use his kit, and blink away. So it's a dicey situation. Their tank is Sonya, and that's very strange. That's very uncommon. And well, I'll be honest with you, I don't remember this game at all, so I'm very excited to hop into this replay. We're gonna do this. Oh, you see that? Oh. It amuses me more than it should, just moving that information panel. Alrighty, well, we do have on this map Jaina once again. She's who we're talking about. We're going to fast forward just until we get some action, and both teams just posturing around the center of the map. It's a very common thing. They're going to find Glaurung, they're going to throw out 2 skill shots, and they are going to miss. Glaurung's going to walk away. He's going to be a happy nerd, and he's going to continue being a stealth little Ninja Zeratul. That's what Ninja Zeratul's do. But look at this aggression from Diablo. Shadow charging Arthalon out of position, then flipping him. It's just a lot of threat available here on the map. And when we look at the control, we look at the options available. We've seen in the past a lot of like really powerful compositions that are Diablo, Jaina, and Tyrande. And what you do is you get that flip, and then you follow up with the Lunar Flare to stun them out on Tyrande, and and of course the Hunter's Mark on Tyrande, and then just the sheer raw damage output provided by Jaina. And that's a very powerful, just like, I'm going to flip you and then you're going to die. Well, they don't have Tyrande, but they do have the roots of Malfurion and the slow in general from Quibsy. And once again, we're seeing that 35% slow on the trait of Jaina. So once you get Shadow Charged out of position or flipped and then Shadow Charged or whatever the situation is, displaced by Diablo followed by the slow, it's still a really bad time. It's a really bad place to be in. And we'll just kind of hit that fast forward. The shrines are spawning. KO on Vala, gonna see you grab the top one. The bottom one will be picked up by the opposing side. Typically, we do see 1-to-1 going. Each team will put their focus in an opposite lane, and that's what happens here. We see the red team just kind of pushing down these towers as quickly as possible, and the blue team doing just about the same. But Jaina is rotating up. She's gonna try to defend. She's gonna just kind of try to dissuade them from pushing forward like that, and just laying out some skill shots, trying to pick up Sonya, and wow, they actually did pick up Sonya, but does Quibsy die for it? No, the shield coming out from Tastar. So a nice rotation that dissuades their aggression a little bit, but the damage was done. They got the towers anyways. The damage on each lane is about the same, and they lost a kill, but Dread getting caught a bit out of position. They're pinging furiously right now. He's going to get to safety, and well, it's 1 kill, 2 kills to 0, with Zeratul dying right there. Being picked up in the middle of the map. So we talked about the flip and the explosion. We should actually just check that out very quickly to see exactly what that kill looked like, as we did happen to miss it. Now Glaurung, here he is. He's walking around. He's scouting. This is Dread running away, getting to safety, but then he goes on to Trader, and he's surprised by Lord Diablo. And actually, Jaina had nothing to do with that. That was just Diablo and Trader doing their jobs good. Well played by them. Both teams sitting there, capitalizing on getting as much soak as possible. But guess what? We're talking about getting as much soak as possible. Red team, they were getting these giants. They missed a bit of soak here in the middle lane. They're down 2 kills right now, and they're down almost, well, it's about half a level when you look at it right now. But still, that's a sizable amount of experience at this point in the game. And Quibsy gonna be backing on out. Somebody's asking how I get all this information on replays. It's a special interface that is provided by somebody named Ali. Ali SC2, I believe, is his Twitter. He created a custom interface for the game, and it's just basically a special file. Blizzard is planning on releasing something new eventually, from what I hope. But anyways, Jaina is going to be able to survive here, just backing on up. It's a very careful dance right now. You have, again, Illidan, Sonya, and Zeratul all wanting to kill you, because you are by far the easiest target to kill on the side of the blue team at 2-arc, because yeah, Malf, he doesn't have the biggest health pool, but he's got heals and he can get Ice Block at 13. Jaina, she doesn't have a whole lot. She's going to start on these giants, and Malf's going to come around, give her a full package, give her those heals, and just running through Jaina's build, we actually see an Arcane Intellect in this game instead of in Venom. So instead of going for that additional damage you can get, going for the sustainability, and you'll see his mana is, it's actually full. It's like always full with Arcane Intellect. It actually pretty much gives you infinite mana. Oh my goodness, the slow connects. This will allow for a flip, and he lines the Blizzard up to connect with that, especially with the overkill of Tychus. It's just a beautiful combination. They could have rooted there. They didn't need any of that. It's just such a beautiful play by the team. Great synergy, and Jaina's burst coming through, dishing out that damage, and they're just going to use that Jaina damage onto these structures. You get those critical hits. You get the additional damage applied to those towers, and it just rips through them like they're nothing. Now the red team, they are going to use these bruisers to push down the top fort, which is quite nice, but they're continuing to push around the map and just kind of get that damage done. Giants in the bottom lane doing their thing, but Jaina rotating up. She wants to blow up targets. The Blizzard will clip Arthlon, dishing out a sizable amount of damage, and they keep this fort alive, which is actually quite impressive, all things considered. But here's the weird thing. We talked about Ice Lance as being very powerful for burst, and as soon as you see something like Ice Lance in this build, I mean, Jaina is incredibly flexible in terms of builds, but as soon as you see something like this is when you're starting to think, are we seeing Icy Veins? Is this an Icy Veins Jaina just to blow people up? And oh my god, that Shadow Charge just pinning Vala to the wall, ruining her day. Just the kills are 4-1 right now. They're sitting in a very nice position right now, and Quibsy's just kind of hanging out in the back. He never wants to be in the front. He's going to go use the spells when he knows that Diablo's cooldowns are off and ready and available, and he just kind of wants to wait and hoping for that cap. Malfurion putting the roots here just to zone for the cap right now, and this is going to be both shrines available, but Glaurung is not just going to give that up, throwing down the Singularity Spike, but Will has cost him his life. Jaina not quite in position to throw down that kit. Oh my goodness, if that Frostbolt had hit, but they do manage to pick up the kill. Very nicely done, but during all of that, the top shrine had been transferred over to the red team. And Jaina, she's going to rotate up to investigate. And using that Water Elemental, they know they have the level 10 advantage. Going forward, just use it on Dreadnought. It's dishing out the damage, getting to a safe position, and there's a Laser Drill on top of it. You can slow the targets down with the Water Elemental and have the Laser Drill lock them down, or just lay out the damage. And yeah, they managed to pick up a nice kill. They force back. Oh, no, they don't force back. They kill the Uther, and this is going to be both. Well, the top shrine being transferred over, the bottom shrine had been picked up by Soldier on Illidan. So they're managing to deny a Dragonite rather well, but at the end of the day, if we look at these numbers, I mean, oh, Jaina, she's sitting at 9,000. She is leagues above anyone else with this build, and just the efficiency and positioning constantly there for the fights in a safe place. When I say that, Quibsy starts to get very low, and they are just putting that focus on her, so she is going to die. And let's just see how all that unfolded. As soon as I say Jaina's always been in a safe place, that's when Jaina gets caught out of position and gets completely and utterly destroyed. But, you know, just things. So she's chasing Illidan, and chasing is a very risky thing to do, especially when they just dodge your Blizzard like that. And here's the rotation from Glaurung. The Ancient Sphere did go in, and Heroic Leap will finish it all off, ruining Quibsy's day, but doesn't matter at the end of the day because that Lightning Breath is connecting with just about everything. The heals coming out are real, and this actually went from being so very bad for the blue team to having a big Lightning Breath and an Archon in the backline, and they actually forced them back. It's a 2-for-2 in an even trade. Really convincing stuff considering how low Jaina got, but that's the power of Tranquility. Tranquility bought a lot of time in that fight, and that time gave the Diablo just a lot of damage. But Trader gonna be able to cap this Dragon, just barely? No. Yes. Oh. Yes, he does pick up the Dragonite, and that's gonna net them a bit of a buffer in terms of just getting the aggression and getting the rest of their team up, back, lined up, and ready to just push in. And you can see how aggressive they get. They get the slows in, and they do the Shadow Charge flip, and they just follow it up with the Blizzard. It's a very safe, consistent combo that has, it's tried and true, and it works really well. The punt going onto Sonya, removing him from the fight. She's that melee damage they don't want to have. Uther Ghost is just keeping Glaurung so nice and healthy, but Jaina is constantly in the backline, just laying out massive amounts of damage. Doesn't have to be on the enemy team, because if you just allow her to get all of her spells off in succession onto a fort or any structure, the trait just makes it deal so much damage. I mean, we're talking 35% slow. We do have the Ice Lance, so it's not the 65% bonus trait, but it's just a lot of Ice Lance that's coming out every 2 seconds. You have the Ice Lance. And the Heroic Leap actually completely whiffs. The punch out is really nice, and they're just buying so much zoning for Jaina. The cone going out, just warding people away. Everybody's just, I mean, they're throwing roots down to zone for Jaina. They're punting people out of the way to zone for Jaina, just allowing her to dish out that damage. And oh, that Shadow Charge will pick up a kill on the Dreadnought. So this is bad, getting this big VP onto 3 people, but they don't have the follow-up. They don't have the leap. It's already been used. Uther's dead. He can't Divine Storm. All they can do in that moment is use Metamorphosis. So Dragonite, Kanto region confirmed. No, the Lyrist. No. But they're backing out. You know, they did the damage they wanted to do. They hit level 13, and we can see that Jaina did once again go for sprint. And especially when you're looking at Zeratul, Illidan, and Sonya, you bet your butt that you're going to pick up sprint, because it is almost a necessity at that point in time. They're going to pick up these Giants, and honestly, they should probably just continue murking it up. They've got 2 packs of Bruisers available on the map. They can rotate together for the aggressive bottom Bruisers, which are, of course, the most forward mercenary camp in the entire map. And that seems to be their goal here in this situation. Illidan seems to suspect this. Illidan is just waiting for his friends, and as soon as they come down, they're all going to be here. Glaurung in the backline is revealing their position, but there is a big Heroic Leap in the backline, and they just blow up Jaina immediately. And like, Jaina, she has to be forward there to help with the Knights, and they just pass through there. They think they're safe, right? Wrong. That's because Tempo Storm expected this. They said this is a likely thing to happen, and their only focus is killing Jaina quickly. They have Glaurung in the backline, and there's that Heroic Leap, and between the 2 of them, look how fast she died. Illidan metamorphosing into that. He's getting completely and utterly fucked out. He is fighting, I assure you. He's just not fighting. And Arthlon will get blown up. So they managed to turn that around with the power of Tranquility, the power of Laser Drill, And the power of a bugged out Illidan that was not actually bugged out in that fight. They managed to actually turn that fight around. They only lost Jaina. This composition is like so well tuned to blowing up Jaina quickly, and we saw the effectiveness there, but it didn't actually matter at the end of the team fight. So really well, well played by Tuark there in that fight, showing the power of just tranquility and laser drill in those close quarter situations where you're fighting on their terms. And man, it just blew people up. And yes, I mean they're standing on horses. We're getting every possible error in this game, and it's actually phenomenal. Now Tycho, he's gonna get this bottom temple. Top temple will go to the red side, so magical shrines will be true. Both teams will just kind of divide and conquer those shrines, and yeah, the rotations are gonna be happening around the map. We see that Quibsy's gonna just be cleaning up here on Jaina, making sure things are nice and happy, and we can speed up a little bit. Da-da-da. Jaina doing Jaina things, teams rotating around the map, not a whole lot of action, shrines trading hands, red goes over here, blue goes up here, and yes. So, bottom, they're going to confront them here in the bottom lane. They're catching Glowering out of position, but there's a big Void Prison locking down Chubbs and Fury Seed, but they're not responding right away. Can they set up a big heroic leap? No, they only find Trader, so they're doing a lot of damage to the heals. Look at those massive heals, keeping him alive. That's the power of Malfurion. Malfurion did fall, but the double healing wards are actually just doling out so much sustain, and the shields coming out from Tassadar at the last moment to keep them alive. Oh, the nice blink back is actually going to end up having Xerath die. And I actually don't know how he died. Did Jaina blow him up in the end? I thought he blinked out. I have to confirm. I need to know. Trader gonna live. Shields come again. Panucci in the back line. Quibsy doing his thing down at the bottom. Just fighting against Zeratul. And he blinks up. And then he goes down here and dies. That's what it is. Yeah. Okay. Very good. Well played by Jaina, just predicting that blink back with Wormhole on Zeratul. Very common stuff. Just predicting his location. And Soldier. Not going to live. Gonna die. Well played. That is a Dragonite here for Tuark. Things are looking phenomenal. Right now, KO in the top lane just trying to push the stuff back. And that's going to be a Jaina getting in a Dragonite, which we don't want to watch. That's boring. La-di-da-di-da. Dragonite. Sickest Pokemon in A. He's a mail carrier. And he's just going to wail away. Quibsy will just kind of dish out that damage. And then he'll become Jaina again, who is who we care about in this VOD. Just kind of stepping back, using that Fire Breath, That's how you get the maximum efficiency out of the Dragonite, and that's typically what we want to see happen. So Quibsy has now revealed herself as a beautiful Jaina Proudmoore, and will be ready for a fight, and they just kind of slow KO up with that Shadow Charge, putting him in a position, and there is the Heroic Leap on 2 targets, followed by Metamorphosis. That's the kind of combo they need to do, because they took out Malfurion so very quickly. And now Quibsy doesn't really have that same kind of buffer to get away, so Illidan's just able to clean up. Things are looking great, but the Water Elemental is continuing, even through Jaina's death, continuing to just tear through people, just ruining their lives. Dreadnought is very low, this Archon coming down. A single Psystorm should be enough to end his life. I mean, it's actually insane. It's actually insane at how beneficial that Water Elemental is in this fight. We're just gonna, Jaina's gonna die. That's good. That's great. Jaina, you're gonna die. This Water Elemental doesn't care. He has no health, and they're just not dealing with it. They're just actually getting demolished by it right now. It has one more hit. Arthlon smacked it thinking it would die, and he didn't. So it's now providing so much control over the battlefield and damage. You can't micro it when it's dead. It just happened to pick the right targets, and happened to be in the right place, and just get so much value. And you know, that really makes that situation what looked like it was going to be a massive victory for the Tempo Storm. It really wasn't. I mean, yes, it went well overall. They got 2 kills, but guess what? They lost 3. They actually had a worse team fight. Now they lost to keep, and Glaurung is going to have to bolt out. Soldier, nope, no flip available. He actually wormholed back in. Trying to get aggressive onto Trader. They're just trying to apply that aggression, but I mean, there's still quite a bit of mana here on Furious D, so the shields are available. The Healing Ward is ready in 5, so they're really not all that scared. They're trying to get Tempo Storm to overcommit, especially tapping the well. That is Tempo Storm's signal to, like, okay, we actually can't continue contesting. They're going to fall back. They're going to pick up these bruisers, and Jaina is finally alive once again, rotating here down to the bottom. She's just going to start working on these. She'll get some heals. She'll get some stuff, and she'll be happy. Stuff, you know, stuff. You get those. You get those when you get giants. You get stuff. Looking at the stats. Oh, that is not what I wanted to press. Yes. Okay, looking at the stats. Jaina, she's still pretty high in the damage. She's keeping up with Vala. She has fallen behind Tychus because the laser drill has actually just gotten maximum duration every single time it's been put down. I think it's actually just ruining kids. So well played, and yeah, that's kind of why the stats look like they do. That's how they look like they do. Looking at Jaina though, she picks up that northern exposure, and this is actually the weirdest thing I've ever seen. I never in my life. This is confidence. This is massive quantities of confidence, because picking up northern exposure, well, that's your level 16 talent where they take 25% more damage when they're hit with that slow, right? That's great. But there's also numbing blast at that tier. And when the enemy team has Zeratul, Illidan, Uther, and Sonya, you think you would want that 1 second route just to provide you safety, but that's how much trust he has in his healers and in Diablo for peeling, because we've constantly seen whenever somebody tries to blow up Jaina, Diablo just shadow charges in and then flips them back, and then Jaina is fine. And this is just strictly like, nope, I'm actually just confident. We have that synergy, and that's great. If this is quick match, you should probably get the root if you're facing this composition. I'm just going to say that right now because it works out for Quibsy. He's very skilled with Jaina. He's very good at positioning, and his team is just good at keeping him alive. But I remember seeing that just being like, wow, that's a confidence play, picking that talent up. So it is 19-17. We have Tuark, our blue team, very close to 20, and Furious D is just standing on his horse. He is actually lifeless. His hair wiggles around, but he is standing on a horse that also doesn't know how to walk. It's just scooting around on roller skates, and you know what? You have to respect that because he's a Protoss. He doesn't have a mouth. He's a psionic being, and you just have to respect that. Jaina cleaning up this top. She's phenomenal at clearing waves, and she says, no, I've done enough. I'm just going to leave. Going to make her way back to the middle lane, and Templestorm has finally picked up a Dragonite, but they don't have level 20. We see Bolt, Dark Archon, Mega Lightning Breath, whatever it's called, Hellstorm, and of course the focusing drill that makes the range actually just absurd. And the damage done is quite powerful as well. So yeah, Jaina opting just for that safety of Bolt at 20. They have a big lead here at 18-20. Fancy forward on Dreadnought getting rooted, slowed, and all of that additional damage is going down from the oh my goodness, the crit for every hit, just getting the max range there on the Frostbolt. And yes, they're just gonna really, I mean, the Dragon has done nothing. They know they don't have 20, they know they have to use it defensively. They pretty much denied a Dragonite from the blue team. And while that has value in itself, the Dragonite doesn't actually team fight that well. It's good for pushing, but it's more of a denial. So at this point, it's like they almost just might want to drop it because they're taking so much structural damage and they need to get ready for a fight. But what they're trying to do right now is they're trying to soak. Glowering is just trying to hit 20, but 19-20 takes quite a while, especially if you're only soaking 2 lanes. So it's an uphill battle for them. Glowering has been trying to rotate between mid and top, and they're doing a decent job. The Dragon bought them that time they needed, but yes, gonna be ending it now. Uther will return to his Paladin medic form, and Tuark hasn't really let that aggression down yet. They have no reason to. They have that level 20 advantage. That's a window of opportunity for them, and they know that, so they're going to continue to push forward. They've got those 20 talents, and they're looking for a kill. Now look at this. I mean, there's no hooks this game, so she doesn't have to worry about a hook. Their tank is Sonya, so if she can bait out a heroic leap and bolt out of the way, I mean, that's when Jaina's can start to get ridiculously aggressive. She has Bolt of the Storm available, so it's quite a safety net on her side. Panucci just moving forward, taking a ton of damage. Gonna need to get those heals, and there's the Tranquility, but not quite enough. Heroically picking up that kill. There is the Metamorphosis in the front line and this big Void Prison locking it all down, but there's still so much damage under that Tychus. There's a laser drill, and Jaina is kiting back nicely with all of the slow available, and with the Divine Storm hitting 3 targets. Trader will end up falling, and it looks like Templestorm is going to be able to take this fight. The Bolt 4, they do hit level 20 by picking up those 2 kills, but Diablo with those souls is making his way back on in. They're chasing onto Soldier, and as he oversteps his bounds, the heals are there, but not enough, and they have to, yeah, oh, look at that Lightning Breath. Just laying out the damage, moving forward. They're going to try to turn this, forcing out the Bolt of Glaurung, and I mean, just looking at Jaina's stats, she's been kiting, sitting at 41k right now, but they're going to find Arthlon, they're going to unload, blow Arthlon up, and this is the point where they can likely end the game. That respawn on Diablo is quite... Oh no, I hit the wrong thing! You know what happened? You know what happened? We're going to rewind all of that. The cat hopped on my lap, and the cat started rubbing her face on everything. This is a podcast right now. Okay, we're rewinding. We're rewinding. The cat started headbutting the keyboard, rubbing her face on it, and marking her territory. And, well, it didn't work out too well. So I don't know exactly how much you guys missed. We're just going to rewind a few more times. And... Because my hotkeys are actually the numpad, and that was where the cat's face was, and she's just like, I'm going to rub my face on all these things. All right, this should be about right. They're pushing in, looking for that damage. And this one with Panucci gets blown up. A nice heroic leap. The healing over time would have kept them alive, and that's, I mean, the tranquility is persisting through this, but it's hitting nothing. So they did a really good job, but that's when Chubbs bolts back. So this actually gets somebody a little bit of efficiency out of that, the heals from tranquility, but that Defiant Storm is going to seal the fate of Trader. The heal's not going to be quite enough. Furious D just being a race car, getting out of that situation, once again, popping that dimensional warp to get away, and that's when Quibsy is going to sprint away. But Diablo has gotten back to the battlefield with the souls, flipping Soldier into the fray of all the Blizzard, and going to take that damage, and they're looking to get aggressive, but I love this Lightning Breath, just forcing them back, and he cancels it. He knows he forced them back. He did a little bit of damage, but they're going to be backing them out with that. They're going to find Soldier, flip him here. A little bit of miscommunication by not lining that up. That Blizzard obviously should have been on the other side of the flip, but it's going to be fine because Arthalon has no options, and Chubbs had gotten so aggressive. He knows it's healer v healer, and he has a team backing him up, and they do not. So he wanted to get super in their face. That time the Blizzard does line up, forcing Dreadnought into a really awkward path backwards, trying to get his team here to peel for him. And, oh my goodness, does he live? No, the Root's going to be able to pick him up. And everything is just looking on point right now for our team. 2-Arc. Jaina has been laying out the damage. She has reclaimed her position as the #1 damage dealer in this game, and those heals are keeping her alive. Glaurung bolting in with that damage, trying to lay it out. Panucci will end up falling, though, and this time he does not have the soul. So, little overstaying their welcome just by a little bit there, and they're going to have to back out. So Jaina, she's sitting top the charts on their team, but Vala, I mean, even with the nerfs, losing battle momentum, the nerfs to the Vault, not having the invulnerability frames, she's still a top dog when it comes to damage. I mean, Searing Attacks just gives her a little bit more burst when it comes down to it, even for multi-shot builds. I mean, people are saying, oh, is this the rise of auto-attack builds? Not so much, not so much. But really, I mean, things are looking quite nice here for our blue team. They're going to try to get a Dragonite. They're capping this bottom shrine. Uther is still dead right now, and the timer is bugged out because Uther Ghost. Actually, I lied to you. He's alive. So it's actually just mega bugged. We're having so many bugs in this match today. It's very good. And there's the VP. Only connecting with Trader. This is actually quite unfortunate because this is a heroic down. This is a safety net. The heroic leap went in. Didn't do a whole lot. Yes, they do manage to blow up Malfurion, but they have to back up from this laser drill, and the range is actually ridiculous. I mean, it's just going to switch to Dread. So they forced out 3 heroics. Diablo was dead during all of that, and they didn't lose anyone. So in the end, definitely a win. They used 4 heroics, 4-3, and they picked up a kill. So, and that's the healer. So that's a pretty big deal. They're going to try to pick up a Dragonite on the red side. But Jaina, she's just going to regroup with her team. She went home to get nice and healthy. She wants to make sure she's ready for the dance. And she's going to be moving back on out with the rest of the team to make sure they can deny this Dragonite. Because the Dragonite, at this point in the game, we're at 21 minutes, it would really march down. If they wanted to, they probably wouldn't march down the top lane. And we'll just talk. I keep meaning to hit the pause key, and I hit the wrong one once again. Okay, so let's talk about Dragonshire as a map really quickly. This is the Bridge of Death. The only fort that is down on the side of our blue team is this top one. Top one's down. The other 2 forts, they're nice and happy. This one, not as happy as the middle one, but all things considered, only top one down. This is the Bridge of Death. You're pushing down a very close choke point, and that is not ideal because the Lightning Breath would pretty much hit everything. The Blizzards would hit a lot of things. There's not a whole lot of flexibility for your team in that fight. So that's why you likely wouldn't see a Dragonite push down that bridge, but you would see them trying to push in down the middle lane because it's right there, just trying to blow it up, and that's what Tempest Storm wants to do. That's what our red team wants to do. They do have control of both shrines, and Malfurion is still dead for another 30 seconds in this situation. So We'll see if they do manage to pick it up. They get the bruisers. This is that top lane distraction. It's just a little bit of experience and control on the map. It's 21 to 21, so they're on even footing in terms of the talents. And each team has those auto revive. Diablo, he's got the souls to respawn. Does he have enough souls right now? 95. 5 more souls till he has enough souls to respawn. And on the other side, we have redemption on Uther. That means after his ghost form expires, he will respawn and be once again a man. But okay. Game of Throws? Game of Throws? Look at this. Soldier, Illidan, steps forward, do a little bit of damage, just gets flipped and blown up. That's gonna be really bad for them. Malfurion is now once again alive. They did manage to get a Dragonite. So yes, they bought time for a Dragonite. He thought about the Bridge of Death, immediately realized that is not a good idea, and now, 20% of the Dragonite has already been removed. It's dwindling. The grenade knocking him back further. I mean, this Dragonite, they're dealing with it, but they don't even need to. They have a window where Illidan is down for another 30 seconds, so they can just march down this middle lane, force that Dragonite's hand, force the Dragonite to defend, because Game of Throws cast, I could do that. And Jaina's just going to make sure she pushes back this top lane, because make sure they're safe. I don't necessarily know if that's a necessary call, considering they did have bruisers there too, but they would have ended up falling because of the Dragonite. But yeah, as soon as this Dragonite gets anywhere near aggressive, they can collapse on it, because Illidan is still dead for another 7 seconds. Then he has to walk all the way across the map. So as they see this Dragonite is pretty much by himself, just applying that slow, providing a bit of damage to it, and forcing it a bit back. And yeah, they're in a pretty nice spot at this point in time. So they're just going to clean this up. And yes, there goes the Dragonite, doing absolutely nothing. Their core is at 99%, so they're fine. So it's at the point where one team fight, well, if they win a convincing team fight, the blue team 2 arc will pretty much win the game. But on the red side, they need to win about 2 team fights, unless they do manage to do something really, if it's really convincing and they're already pushed forward, they could try to end the game. From the top lane. It is viable. But right now, I mean, things are definitely in favor of the blue team, especially structurally. They have 2 keeps down on the opposing side, and Diablo he's very far forward. Those lightning breaths have been doing a lot of damage, especially when you synergize the Diablo with the Jaina. Setting up those combos and just eliminating targets very quickly are very nice. And just look at the support. Jaina took out a lot of damage, and immediately the shields and the heals came out, and with Tranquility being popped, they know they are here to commit. But look at that heroic leap at the Void Prism. They managed to blow up Tychus very quickly, but this lightning breath from behind is going to eliminate Glaurung and then switch its focus over to both Arthalon and Soldier. And the Water Elemental and Jaina just keeping everything so locked down. Arthalon, he is in a horrible spot. Defiance Storm buying some time, but that's going to cause, of course, Uther to end up falling. The roots connecting with Sonya, and that's 3 down. Now Uther will respawn in just a moment, and that's why they are actually just circling around him. They know he will have half health when he respawns, and the Bolt of the Storm out of Jaina, just to make sure they pick up the skill. They just want to make sure that nothing can happen. That is a 3-minute cooldown, so he will not be able to respawn. They've got catapults, they've got giants, and Jaina, she's got damage, 63,000. She pretty much caught up to Volley. Yeah, she's at 67. Sure, that might be more. But Jaina's good and happy with her work that she has done in this game. She will end up falling at the end. Boo-hoo, but that's going to be a victory on the side of the blue team. Turek Iliad, well played, some sick Jaina action, and just going through the build one more time just to kind of emphasize what we tend to see from Jaina. And some of the cool picks we saw in this, we saw the Deep Chill, that's the 35% slow. We saw the Arcane Intellect, giving her almost unlimited mana. There was never a time where Jaina didn't have mana for a fight. Ice Lance, that just gives you more burst. I mean, if you have that lockdown from Diablo and you can throw Ice Lance 2 seconds later, you throw it again. It's just so good. The Winter Mute or the Water Elemental, just summoning that for the burst damage when it comes out, and just the utility it had in all of those fights did so much for the team. Sprint, safety, mobility, get out of situations. Really interesting pickup of Northern Exposure, just providing more damage. But if you're doing 25% additional damage and you're throwing a Frostbolt every 2 seconds, yeah, I could see that being pretty okay. And then Bolt at 20 to round it all out. Such a beautiful game by Jaina. Mrs. Proudmoore. Well played there by 2Arc, a wondrous game. Sorry for the strange production things with the cat headbutting the scene and changes everything for us. But that is going to be the Jaina rundown. Jaina builds, Jaina insight, Jaina talents, all that good stuff. Miss Proudmore, she makes me proud because she does a lot of damage. She is in a phenomenal position in the current meta. And if you're not playing her, if you don't have her, if she's ever free, I don't know if she's free right now. Is she free? Let's find out. Let's find out. Oh. Oh. Jaina, where you at? Jaina, why can't I find you? I'll find you. She's not free. She's not free. But maybe next week, maybe the week after, definitely get in there, play some Jaina. She's definitely a positionally challenged hero. I guess you have to be very careful with your positioning when you're playing her, is what I'm trying to say. I wouldn't say positionally challenged. That doesn't sound right. Sounds mean, if anything. But, guys, you can always send me replays for the daily quest. I'll have a chance to look at them. I always try my best to just analyze replays submitted from viewers, whether or not it's on stream. Sometimes I'll send people emails if they're looking for feedback if I have time. But I'll be honest with you. I am flying to LA tomorrow morning at, well, really, really early in the morning to help with the Heroes of the Dorm production. So I will be out of town for 2 full weeks, which means my normal streaming schedule has really been flipped on its head, and that's why things have been so hectic here, because I've been prepping for leaving. Daily Quest is going to be on a bit of a hiatus. It will return, so have no fear. The Daily Quest will be back. And I'm actually going to stream just some normal games now. I had wanted to do an ETC Daily Quest today. There's still a chance I'll do it later tonight, but I'm actually just itching to play some games because I've been out of town. I'm going out of town, and I need to play some Heroes of the Storm. So there is no ESL tonight. There's going to be ESL on Thursday. That's when Season 2 starts. ESL is not going to be tonight, just to confirm with you guys. And we're just going to get ready to switch the stream over. So this is where the VOD will end. Thanks for watching the Daily Quest number 17 on Jaina. The next one is going to be focused on Tyrael. So we're going to talk about Tyrael and just basically his impact. Is that right? No, we already did Tyrael. That was the last one. We're going to do ETC. Excuse me. Yes, the Elite Tauren Chieftain. The difference between Mosh Pit and the difference between Stage Dive and what kind of impacts they can have on a fight. Why we see Stage Dive so frequently and competitive, and just basically ETC's role in general. I mentioned Tyrael. That VOD exists on my YouTube because we did that last week. So that already exists, and you can definitely check that out. But yes, I will be streaming the game. So guys, that's going to do it for the Daily Quest 17. Thanks for watching. And we'll cut the VOD there. Very good. Grand